What's up? So, today we are going to be using the Gravedigger. This weapon you could have earned from the shop, I do believe, during the Fortnite Mirrors season. So basically last season, a few weeks ago, you could have bought the weapon. And we're going to be using it for today's video. It has a fairly simple damage and headshot multiplier. So it does hit pretty good damage in general, just by default. Its overall critical rating is at around 10%, and if it's not upgraded, I think it should be around 20%. So that's basically 1 in 5 bullets it will crit, but with a maxed out critical rating, it's more than 1 in 3 bullets it should crit, so it does have a fairly good, consistent crit chance, because it is a rifle after all. It has a pretty decent fire rate. It has a very good ammo size, 40 compared to 30 ammo in its mag size. It's very good, and I'll go more in depth about why that's actually really good. And its reload time is pretty normal, 1.5 seconds is not very long at all. So let's go into the perks, and there's lots of variety that you can do. You can use like a fire rate perk if you're running affliction, so you can spray a bunch of bullets throughout the entire horde and shred them down. It also synergizes really well if you do have, every shot fired grants extra damage. Any one of these perks are good. If you have someone spamming straps, the 60% damage is good. The 45% bonus damage for slowed enemies is good if you like using 1-4 spikes, or a secondary weapon that slows enemies down. But I'm going to be running affliction, of course, because, it's just auto synergy with my 6th perk. And you could also run a mag size perk too. That scales very, very well, because it has a 40 bullet mag size to begin with. So that's very good. Like, really any of the perks that you could run on this weapon are good, but these are of course the perks that I'm going to be running for today's video. And with that being all said, let's get into the loadout. There's a lot of potential you could run when it comes to a loadout for this weapon. You could run like a standard TRO billable fighter, tactical Sledgehammer and lead, or rescue trooper Ramirez. You can run like a glass cannon build with both Swamp Knight, as well as C-bot Jonesy for like extra miss monster and headshot damage. If you're at low health, you can run a crackshot build with a mag size perk too. That's a really good one, because of the mag size perk actually scaling really well with the default ammo. But I'm just going to take it simple and use this Rex Jonesy loadout. You can swap out a lot of the heroes that you see at the bottom there for anything else that you want, because it can buff, any ranged weapon in the game. But I'm just using this build just to play things casually. So I obviously have Blast from the Past as my team perk, so I can have Rex Jonesy be active. There's not really any dino heroes that really synergize with ranged weapons besides Rex Jonesy, so I just have passive health regeneration and armor. And I'm running Battle Beat Wildcat because it is just 50% extra damage. I am using a damage build for traps, so that's why. I'm also running Crackshot instead of Rescue Trooper Ramirez, because he actually does get more value than Rescue Trooper Ramirez over time because of the large mag size. So he should be basically putting out more than 17% extra damage over time, just as long as I don't, reload my gun constantly. And then of course we have Sludgy, That's the last team perk. Pretty straightforward, extra critical damage. Don't really need to explain that at all. He's just honestly a great hero when it comes to buffing assault rifles. Definitely one of the best, I would say, in the game. And for the mission we'll be doing is this Ride the Lightning. Pretty simple mission. The only really hard modifier is Frenzy, because of their movement speed and extra damage that they do get. But other than that, I don't think it should be too bad of a mission, especially with the power level bug that's going on with 160s. But other than that, let's hop straight into the mission.
Storm intel, Commander. Let's launch that van.
Fill her up if you'd be so kind. I need to get back up in those clouds.
We're headed your way. Make sure to collect any blue glow you see.
So the location I got for the objective was honestly not bad. Basically just pretty much 2 lanes. But with how the terrain is set up, I had to build 3 different little strap tunnels. But yeah, it's a pretty good spot. I actually never really get this spot ever when I play solo. So this was a nice little change. So basically I'm just going to do a barricade up here. I don't want them ever to come up here. Pretty straightforward, you know. And then I'm going to be building a strap tunnel basically like right there. And right here I'm going to just test out the weapon, of course. You know, there's some husks here anyways that I, you know, should kill. And the weapon in general is pretty good. Like, it shreds down a lot of the weaker enemies fairly well. And also, I just didn't even notice the smasher, like, sitting right there. So, that's going to be, of course, a great target to, you know, test out the weapon. So, with the war cry, this weapon, yeah, it pretty much melts smashers. A little weird that he didn't charge, like, directly at me, but, you know, he still died pretty easily with the war cry helping out. But yeah, very strong weapon. Just going to try it out on, of course, like a few other enemies because there's like actually a lot of random husks here. So, but yeah, the weapon pretty much melts through just about anything in 160s currently with a loadout. It's actually a simple loadout too. Like, I'm not milking out any critical damage perks that I'm running. I'm not milking out any headshot damage perks, you know. It's just overall raw damage. And it's, you know, hitting pretty damn good if you ask me. I mean, the Gravedigger has always been like a really solid weapon, honestly, so I'm not really that surprised that, you know, it obviously shreds enemies like that down very, very quickly. But yeah, just in case they do spawn up there, because sometimes the spawns are a little weird for this spot, I'm building like a very big barricade just to, you know, funnel them all into one area. And yeah, I'm basically going to be doing a very simple strap tunnel. I don't really suggest doing the same strap tunnel as me because I do play very, very cheap with this one because of my damage loadout. But if you do decide to reuse this strap tunnel, I do suggest using like some wall lights to help out. But yeah, I'm going to be building also across here like this because of the awkward terrain. So I'm just doing that just for a little platform. Just in case, you know, something like gets destroyed or they're not able to pathfind correctly into my strap tunnel. That's a really nice and easy way, by the way, too, to just play around like water like that in any like pirate zone, lakeside, or foothill. I guess the ice biomes too, but like, I mean, the ice biomes are like broken, so it's probably not even worth building in any of those zones anyways. The straps that I'm going to be using for the strap tunnel is pretty simple. Basically, I'm just making a 2-tile long strap tunnel. And the ceiling strap I'm going to be using is gas, a single wooden force spike, and 2 dynamos and a tar pit. And that's pretty much it. Like I've said before, and I think some of my past videos, gas at the moment is a very, very strong strap. Normally it's not really that good of a strap because it gets completely countered by basic elemental enemies because of the damage reduction that they have towards physical sources, nurses, and spoilers, but the fact that this strap is able to just shred down all of the basic enemies is really, really good. Because being able to thin out enemies is very, very strong with how this game works. Because it just means that if you have another strap at the back of your strap tunnel, it's always going to go off on like a husky or a mist monster if they do, of course, leak through. But yeah, if I had to, of course, change one thing with this build, it probably would have been to add like wall lights, because I did end up struggling a little bit on the second wave, but I didn't really find it to be really that bad. If I extended it by another tile, it would have been perfect. I also use a single ceiling field for all 3 tunnels, just again to help pick off weaks, you know. It is gas, so it is a DPS strap, so, you know, most likely if you get a weak, it's probably at low health. And it can also, of course, attack inwards to shrapnel too, so that's the main way why I'm also, you know, adding it too. Also, another reason why I left those two walls empty as well in my shrapnel is because the second wave is a little weird, because it's basically a 50-50% chance that you either get smashers or flingers. But there's a very, very low percent chance that when you get one of the flinger waves, it's like a hybrid wave between flingers and exploders. And they send a lot of both on that wave, specifically fan. So that's mainly why, another reason why I left those tiles open. I probably shouldn't have left them open. Mostly because, again, like if I got that husky nurse wave for wave 1, you know, would have struggled a lot. But it's not like it really mattered that much though, because I ended up getting that wave anyways on the second wave and ended up just not really having any issues whatsoever. But yeah, with the shrapnels all being done, I'm just basically putting a little bit of support, you know? I mentioned this in a lot of my videos, like whenever I can, but putting a impact shrap, like a wall 4 launcher, tire shrap, wall light, even a broadside to stagger enemies, it could reset their AI and of course make them want to, of course, go into your shrap tunnel. Also here I'm just putting some wall darts for building health. They do have frenzy, but it literally doesn't even matter because smashers could just one-shot that because of their frenzy anyways. But yeah, pretty much the entire build is just done, so I'm going to cut real quick to where I started, so see ya. So the mission is started now. And yeah, it is a fan mission, so the waves don't switch until after the wave, you know, ends. So I guess the enemy wave doesn't switch, so, you know, if you get smashers, it's basically like 3 minutes worth of smashers. But yeah, Shrap Tunnel is doing fairly well. There's like a few weeks occasionally, again, because of their frenzy, you know, extra movement speed does suck. But yeah, it does shred, the Gravedigger does shred, you know, any random weeks, smashers, basics, you know. And even like a smasher with like a lot of health there, just ends up dying by like a couple bullets there. Very, very strong weapon. And the nice thing too with this weapon compared to other weapons is that it has a really consistent DPS. So if you get like a bunch of consistent smashers, kind of like this, where you have to like, you know, shoot, replace anything that they destroy, you know, very, very good weapon. If you're able to consistently, you know, health damage the amount of health that smashers have. And the same goes for, of course, any of the wakes too. So very, very good weapon. Even though I, you know, don't really have that good with shrapnel, because I kind of ignored crowd control quite a lot with this shrapnel. But it's not like it really matters anyways, with how easy 160s are at the moment. that is the first wave done. I'm gonna cut real quick so I can make some small repairs and grab some blue glow. Alright, the second wave is active. It is a smasher wave again, so no flingers, no whoppers, no sploders. But it's the husky nurse wave. So basically with this wave you have lots of huskies, shielders, and well, nurses of course. And most of the basic enemies are of course replaced with huskies in general. So I do actually end up getting a lot of bleeds here, but again with how consistent this weapon's DPS is, it just shreds all those enemies like nothing. Like, you know, they send like a bunch of huskies, they team through my traps, but they just end up dying pretty easily. So if you were to like, I guess be using this weapon in like a co-op game, you know, you would most likely end up having like the same result, you know, in a co-op 160, you know, pre-patch, I guess. But yeah, the weapon, very, very strong weapon, honestly. I would just like to say again, like this weapon's honestly great. It's not the greatest, but it's very simple, you know. Lots of loadouts work for it, lots of perk setups work for it. Great for picking off weaks, honestly. Also, I would just like to appreciate again, like always, the boss that I got for this one was a fire husk when I'm using a nature weapon. So yeah, nice. I can't even try out my weapon I'm using for this video again because of random elements as well as modifiers. But yeah, he actually does spend quite a lot of time in the trap tunnel, which I was kind of surprised. But yeah, he's pretty much a fire husk. I literally can't even use this weapon against him because of the damage reduction that he has against it, which does kind of suck. But at least he's like a regular husk and not like a smasher boss or husky boss. So I just end up switching to the monsoon because that does synergize really well with crackshot that I do have in my support. Even though crackshot's in my support, he still pumps out like quite a lot of extra damage, honestly. So a really good secondary to swap to for this loadout specifically. And yeah, I shred basically half of his health within pretty much that one clip around there. But he ends up defrowning anyway, so it doesn't really matter that much. You know, like it's always better to just not focus on the boss and just focus on the regular enemies. I'm also not really sure how they even broke through that block off. I find it a little bit weird that they're just now breaking through it now, and not like, you know, in the first wave. But I don't know, Husk AI is sometimes like a little weird for no reason at all. So I guess it's not really a big deal. You know, I guess one sheet, because knowing that there's like no other way that they would probably win, I guess. But it's whatever. It's a little annoying, but it's not really the biggest deal for like a damage build. If you're playing like a constructor though, I would just imagine that just being a pain in the ass, which it normally is, so. But yeah, even with them cheating by breaking through my barricades, you know, still, like, you just killed them really, really quickly with this weapon. Or I guess with the loadout buffing this weapon. But yeah, other than that, you know, really good weapon, honestly. And that is the mission done. I would just like to mention though, something real quick. Once they fix the power level bug that's going on with 160s, I might probably end up redoing this video, as well as some of my other ones that I will be either uploading in the future or that I've already uploaded. So I'd just like to mention that. But yeah, not gonna lie, 17,000 damage, or combat I guess, with just like a basic rifle. Pretty damn good if you ask me. Like 6 million commander XP, very, very high. Normally that's at like 2 or 3 million. But yeah, pretty fun weapon if you ask me. At least at the moment with the, you know, the power level 160 bug. where they don't ramp in power. But yeah, fun weapon, lots of variety when it comes to perks and loadouts. Works very, very well when it comes to trapping, because it does have a consistent DPS, so you can pick off weeks. Well, hope you enjoyed the video, and I guess I'll see you in the next one. See ya!